but I've been a lifelong student of health since my dad died when I was 9 years old. And now it's kind of morphed into like a leader, perhaps, like a man who's learned a lot through his life experience that now wants to transmit and share that information in a scalable way to people so they can take some nuggets and apply it into their life and be there for their families. And I went on a skiing trip to the Rocky Mountains in southwestern United States with one of my friends. And we were skiing very fast and aggressively, and I'm a good skier. I've grown up in some skiing areas, and I had an intuition this day that I was supposed to slow down, but I didn't slow down, and I ignored all the signs, and I ended up getting into basically almost a life-ending skiing accident where I hit a tree going about 30 miles per hour. And I think the logical fallacy that happens there is a lot of people, before they get into a proper fitness program, have the mental framework that they think that their fitness is over here and the rest of their life is over here, when it's truly just one thing. We're in the 7 to 8 figure range in terms of revenues. If I asked my 20-year-old self, like, who was really trying hard in business, like, that I'd be here, then I absolutely made it. But it's amazing because, like, as you push and you get further out towards the horizon, your vision gets bigger. And now it's not just about crossing off any like goals and desires for me personally as like a bucket list of things to do in business. It's now like I really want to build like a really more mature company.
Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, it's a honor to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, brother. It's been a while since we connected, and it's fun that I can be here and have this conversation with you across the globe. You in Thailand, me in the desert of Arizona right now, and this is one of the beautiful aspects of technology, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Pretty amazing. Dude, you've been an inspiration to me for quite a long time. Like, what you build there with your fitness business, Fit Father project, is super inspiring. Super, super inspiring. And whenever I like ideas to create new content, new videos, I honestly just look up your YouTube channel, see what you're doing, see what's working, and then, I find inspiration there. So thank you very much for that.
That's a beautiful compliment to be paid, my brother. And I would say the same thing about you. You've had some amazing videos that I've drawn some inspiration from. And, being a fellow dad and being in the kind of shape you're in and getting your clients these kinds of results, I mean, in my book, you're absolutely crushing it.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Now, you're the founder of this huge fitness empire, the Fit Father project, but I'm sure there's more to your name. So in a few sentences, who is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi?
Yeah, I mean, that's a deep question. I guess I could probably define some characteristic roles that I play. One is a father to my beautiful baby girl, Brooke. She's around 2 years old. So I actually started the Fit Father project before I became a dad, and we might get into why and how that happened. I'm a man who is a lifelong student of health and fitness. And at first that was, I might as well just share it now, as I got inspired to be in health and fitness because I watched my own dad get sick growing up, and he basically worked himself to the bone. He got a cancer diagnosis. He battled it for years, and he died when he was 42 years old. So when I was 9, I saw that all go down, and it changed my life. I mean, it got me, through all the tragedy and the pain, I found exercise was a way I could turn my life around. So I know it's not in a few words, but I've been a lifelong student of health since my dad died when I was 9 years old. And now it's kind of morphed into like a leader, perhaps, like a man who's learned a lot through his life experience and now wants to transmit and share that information in a scalable way to people so they can take some nuggets and apply it into their life and be there for their families. And I'd also say I've become a more spiritual man over the last several years. And I think that just comes down to my deeper understandings of natural law, how health and fitness can seem like it's something so disconnected from natural cycles. But the more I learn, it's like, man, this is like the whole natural system, circadian biology, food timing, the fact that we're moving, the way our joints work. It's now all wrapped into this like higher philosophical framework that I'm operating in now. So a man of God, spiritual guy, leader, health and fitness, dad. Maybe these are some words that work.
There's a lot to unpack here, and I'd like to know a bit more about your life, obviously. You're a doctor. So what field in
naturopathic medicine? So this is in the United States, we have 3 accredited medical degrees, traditional MDs. These are the doctors that go through traditional medical route, which has a lot of benefits. I mean, there's a lot of amazing MD specialists, but the whole industry's kind of gotten hijacked and co-opted, in my opinion, by pharmaceutical interests and an insurance model that doesn't allow you to really get deep with people. And we often prescribe pills for things that should be
Mm,
corrected with diet, exercise, and lifestyle. So the MDs. DOs, are doctors of osteopathy. They do a little more spinal manipulation, holistic way. And then there's NMDs, the kind of doctor I am, naturopathic medical doctors. And we treat the whole person. We believe in prevention. We use natural methods and therapeutics first, pharmaceuticals later if needed. And we really understand that the whole body needs to be in sync with natural cycles, meaning the right kind of food, the right kind of
yeah.
movement, the fact that mindset and someone's emotional state
Yep.
interplays now with their physiology, which is, epigenetics and psychoneuroimmunology and all these amazing fields. So I love that kind of medicine because it really jives with what I see works. And it's the blend of fitness and lab testing and holistic approach to health.
And how were you inspired by your dad? Did he lead you to that path, or was it even before already interested in that field?
It's a great question. I'd say, like, looking back to connect the dots, there was definitely some signs. So my dad was treated by traditional oncologists, which, around 25 years ago was, a pretty, it's kind of brutal what he went through. The chemotherapy has come a long way since then. He got his head radiated. He got two brain surgeries. So he went traditional medical route. But at the same time, when he had his brain surgery for his cancer, it ended up getting, being paralyzed in half of his body. So I did see him seek alternative treatments like acupuncture and stuff like that, which did help him. So perhaps there were some seeds planted, but the natural segue was the fact that I just fell in love with fitness as a way to like heal my body. When I started lifting weights and getting stronger, I started competing as a bodybuilder in my teens and my 20s. And it was just a very natural progression from there to get into a type of medicine that really put a lot of stake on exercise and nutrition and macros
Mm,
and supplements
yeah.
and all the stuff I already knew worked. So it was a nice step from fitness. And my mom was a big push too, because I thought I was going to go get a PhD in nutrition. And she told me that, she has her own thoughts about PhDs and thinks they just hang out in the ivory tower and don't help people. So she's like, you should go to medical school for naturopathy because
Yeah.
you'll help more people. I'm like, okay, mom, I'll listen to you. And it was a great decision. I learned so much and I was able to blend my fitness background with medicine. And now I can teach on a wide variety of
Yeah.
topics.
I remember that when we first connected on Facebook, I believe I saw some pictures of you doing a bodybuilding contest. What was
Mhm.
that, men's physique?
Yeah, I did. Well, I was doing traditional bodybuilding most of the time. I did a little
Okay.
bit of men's physique at the very end. And I was a quite successful bodybuilder for the under 23 years old. I probably did around 10 shows from my teens to my early 20s. I absolutely loved it. I won some of them, lost some of them, did some men's physique, and it was just a cool experience, as you know, to take your body to a very high level of fitness, which means, low body fat, which requires very dialed in nutrition and training. And that's not exactly what I teach, anybody now,
I
like
just
the
wanted to say
bodybuilding.
that,
Well,
like, there happened
yeah,
a transition,
for
but
sure.
I agree, you learn so much when you go through these phases, when you push your body to the limit.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, back then you had this goal obviously to look ripped, to look good, muscular, to look your absolute best on stage. And then how did your goal change over time and why?
Yeah. Well, I think people are driven by many reasons to go into hardcore bodybuilding and fitness. I think for me, it was a place where I was looking to find my confidence and I was building like my ego structure up. Like I wanted to be perceived as a very strong, fit guy. I wanted to eventually become very competitive and win, and with the bodybuilding shows and stuff like that. And after a while of doing that for some amount of time, like it loses its fire. Like every additional contest prep, it's like, man, this is a lot of work. And I'm starting to scratch a little bit of that itch. But something kind of profound happened to me in my last year of medical school. I was doing great in medical school, having a wonderful time, and I went on a skiing trip to the Rocky Mountains in southwestern United States with one of my friends, and we were skiing very fast and aggressively. And I'm a good skier. I've grown up in some skiing areas, and he is too. And I had an intuition this day that I was supposed to slow down, but I didn't slow down, and I ignored all the signs, and I ended up getting into basically almost a life-ending skiing accident where
Mm,
I hit a tree going about 30 miles per hour. I shattered my leg, broke my arm, and all this body that I'd built up to this point over several decades of training basically got completely changed and recalibrated in a single decision in a single moment. Like my leg basically exploded, almost had to have it amputated. And then, 6 surgeries later over 6 years, including leg
oh wow.
lengthening, like I've been through a tremendous process of my body. And so that was a big awakening for me, because at the time I'm still building Fit Father Project, and we already at this point had like a lot of traction, and we're getting members, and we're doing good with the on the business side of things. But now personally, I got at a crossroads in my life where my own relationship to my fitness, my own relationship to the concept of self-identity changed. And I was kind of thrust into, through my own decisions, a healing journey. And that healing is not just on the physical level. And I learned how to heal a leg and all that, but also on a mental, emotional level, like to relate to my fitness in a new way, and to also have to like understand that things would be different from here on out. So
Yeah.
that was like a big shift to my
Mm.
fitness during that time.
Okay, during that period of recovery, I mean, you probably do some very basic. I don't know how many weeks, months you could not work out at all after that.
Oh man. I mean, potentially you could talk about years. I mean, you work around things, like you train in ways that you can with what you can do. But, you know, I mean, my leg blew up into like 6 pieces. So I don't think I was doing any real intentional leg work outside of rehab
Mm.
exercises for at least a year. And then after the leg healed up, it healed up shorter than my other leg. So I walked around about 3 years with a right leg that was about an inch shorter than the left leg. And that causes all sorts of postural problems. So
Wow.
I went through the process of getting it lengthened. So it's been amazing, because you learn how to work around injuries. You
Mm.
learn that certain kinds of training can help speed up injuries. And there's lots of good things you can help with in terms of supplementation, peptides, different kinds of light like infrared, post
Mm.
electromagnetic
Yeah,
field
yeah.
mats. So I was able to pull some of my medical training in to help accelerate the healing. But it also opened me up to a level of humility that these bodies, although we try to build them up, they're on this natural decay cycle. It's just part of, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic. It's just like the nature of all things in nature. They come and they have a peak bloom,
Mm.
and then they have kind of like a tail end. So for me, it was kind of cool. And I think it transitioned me into a degree of maturity of understanding the arc of the body,
Mm.
and to honestly accept certain things, and to come into some acceptance of not the same as I was when I was a competitive bodybuilder. And that's the same game that I'm working with people in their 40s, particularly 40s, 50s, and 60s with Fit Father Project. Like, they don't have the same knees they had when they were 20. They don't have the
Yeah,
same shoulders.
yeah.
We still want to train and program around that and still make the best of it. But it was able, even though I was younger than the people I was helping, it kind of almost put me very much in the feeling of the demographic. Like, I
Yeah.
like to say I'm the fittest and healthiest that I've been in my mid 30s, and I have like a 80-year-old right knee. So it's kind of a fun combination.
You said something interesting there. You mentioned peptides, and I
Mm-hmm.
had just someone on the show, Stephen McCain, former Olympian gymnast, and
Mm-hmm.
he was all about peptides.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your thoughts about them?
I think that for certain injuries, more minor stuff like tendon stuff, tendinopathies, maybe like an injury that hasn't healed for some time. Like the two main peptides many people use, BPC 157 and TB 500, are very helpful. You can run them for a cycle. Basically, most of these peptides that are good for healing have very good side effect profiles. You basically get literally no side effects outside of maybe some injection site issues if you do inject them, and they can have a lot of biological benefits.
Mm.
But like the world of peptides is massive. We're just talking about like short proteins, right? So insulin, in IGF-1, like these are also peptides, and so it's a wide conversation. I think some of these peptides that are good for like growth hormone secretagogues, or peptides that tan you, peptides that increase your sex drive, like we're kind of going on a rabbit hole of like you can take a peptide
Interesting.
for everything. But I'm mostly a fan of the peptides that are really good for healing. And BPC 157 and TB 500 are
Mm,
two really
mm,
good ones to start with.
cool. Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is because until now I didn't hear much about them. I maybe read something on social media, and then it was Stephen McCain again, the gymnast who brought it up, and oh, I need to do some research. That sounds interesting. And
Yeah, I
if it comes
use
from
them.
you, then yeah, I definitely need to
I
research more.
used them. I used them, but I'll say like they were helpful for me. But like with the extent of my injuries, it's not like they were magic. But for
Mm,
some people, like it really could be the difference between having that nagging pain and not having that nagging pain.
interesting. Okay, cool. So after the injury you had and going through rehab, then the next few years were dedicated, I assume, to building your fitness empire. Is that correct?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And I think it's funny because like both of us have been doing YouTube videos for some time, and I like to look back at, let's just say I've been doing videos for 6 to 8 years on YouTube, and I can look back and see all the different phases of like the kind of
Mm,
person I was at
yep,
that time. I'm like,
yep,
I look exactly like I know what I was thinking and how I was
yep.
feeling at that stage, in this stage, in this
I have
stage.
this
So
too.
now you're right, you see it, right? I mean,
Uh,
you can just see it in your demeanor, your demeanor, and
Absolutely.
you can just
Mm,
remember back to
mm,
that version
mm.
of yourself. So, I became the new version, which I think was a little more integrated at this time, like bringing in fitness, but also bringing in more mental, emotional, and shooting videos that could relate to people in an even better way. And so, working certainly hard on business, and also, at this time I was getting married and working on having my child, Brooke. So that was happening during that time as well. So definitely an integration at that moment.
Why did you not go the corporate way? Because as a doctor, at least in Switzerland, you get very high paid jobs. Like, why did you not take a job and you're fine, right?
It's a good question. I think it's like because of my bodybuilding experience. Like I just learned so for the young age of getting just really obsessed with bodybuilding before it was Instagram and cool, like that you could be self-directed and you could have a lot of cool experiences. Like, okay, I'll toot my own horn for a second. When I was in my early 20s, there wasn't Instagram for fitness, but there was Body Space, which is bodybuilding.com's like
Yeah,
MySpace
I
version.
remember.
And I had a profile on there and I was posting some photos around some of my contest preps when I was in my young 20s. And I had like one of the top 5 Body Space profiles, and they flew me out
Interesting.
to go on stage, and I was getting
For
tons of
real?
like fan mail, and it was like a wild experience for a young 21-year-old
I
kid. I
had
was
no
like
idea. Wow.
sponsored by Cellucor, that supplement company, and like before they had all the C4 pre-workout everywhere.
Yeah.
And I guess I just had an experience of like, wow, you know what? If you're really passionate about something and you get pretty good, there's lots of opportunity out there.
Mm.
And then the other thing I think was working in the back of my mind is after my dad passed away, like it wasn't just me doing the healing. My mom was doing a lot of healing as well. And one of her way of healing and also raising me and my little brother was to listen to some motivational tapes. So she would put on like tapes from people like Tony Robbins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So in the back of my mind, I was kind of getting this kind of programming that, man, I always thought it was cool to listen to the things that Tony was saying about shaping your mindset and creating a beautiful life. But also I'm like, dude, he's got a pretty cool job. Like
Mm.
he records audio tapes and he makes tons of money and he helps a lot of
For
people.
real.
Like,
Yeah.
so I think that was kind of framed in my mind. And then, as people started asking me throughout my fitness about how do I do XYZ, I started like writing little ebooks and blogs and just want to put it in paper because like you can only answer the same thing so many times. So
Yep.
started to write protocols, and then you put those on the internet, and then it kind of just started to build. But I'm very thankful that I chose to start a blog and a website and learn to write articles, around a decade ago in the beginning of like
Yeah.
when SEO
Hmm.
is really ramping up,
Hmm.
because it just kind of one thing leads to another. And now you're here. It wasn't exactly all planned. It just kind of happened.
Wow. And then YouTube, you started when?
Yeah, well, funny enough, so our YouTube channel, we probably started around maybe 6, 7 years ago. And our sole goal with YouTube is like the way Fit Father kind of started. That was the first business, Fit Father Project. We started to get some web traffic because I was writing articles for keywords that like no one had
Mm.
articles on. So there was no articles for like weight loss for men over 40. There was nothing good online. So I wrote that one and over 50. Then we started to get some web traffic. And at the time, it's like the Google algorithm was, if you want a high ranking article, you need to have a video on that page because time
Yeah.
on page is important.
Yeah.
So I turned to my right hand man, Stuart, my COO, and he's like, we should shoot a video for every single article we have. And we had like dozens, if not maybe 100 articles at a time.
You're
So I started
doing an
shooting the
amazing
videos.
job, yeah, at SEO. Like it's crazy and very
Yeah,
specific keywords. That's
for
yeah.
sure. So we like that's kind of how we started and like to do the SEO. And then we shot all these videos, and then we're just like, we should probably post them on that YouTube thing. And
Mm.
then you just post them on YouTube without a lot of strategy. But as you know, you create a number of videos as a creator, and some of them pop off and some of
Mm.
them don't. But if you create
Mm.
enough of them, some of them will just kind of
Yep.
like go, and that can
Mm.
start to get your traction going. So about
Cool.
8 years ago, and because of we just wanted to do better on helping people find us.
Okay. Cool. And then you became a father 2 years ago. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How did that go? I
I
mean,
mean, it
like
was
the,
life changing. Life
what I want to
changing.
what I want to ask you, since you've been working or had been working with fathers,
Yeah.
you already had an idea what to expect and
Mm-hmm.
how like fatherhood is. Was there a real surprise for you, something that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I think for sure you just don't know like the impact, and unless you've been a father, it's not like you can kind of predict how much you're gonna love your child or your baby, but you only know when you feel that.
Yeah, yeah.
You can kind of predict how it's gonna affect your relationship with your spouse who you had the kid with, but you only find out when when you have that. Now there's 3 of you instead of two in our case, and that new dynamic starts to come. So it became an integrated lived experience. that being said, I did already have the protocols really dialed in for, at that point, tens of thousands of dads on like how to make fitness work when you're busy, how to make it work when you're sleep deprived, how to make it work if your joints hurt. So I had the protocols, but I think one of the biggest things for me, honestly, just, and this is just being super raw and transparent, was getting rid of a little bit of like imposter syndrome that I had. Like I had a great mission, to help dads, but it's another thing to like actually become a dad to be helping dads. So I felt like it was an integration in my life path and kind of like a stamp of like I was like really in the club. And then just the love I felt for my daughter instantly. It's like the first relationship you have that starts off at 10 out of 10, at least in my experience. And it's like, wow, nothing needs to happen here for this not to be the best thing ever. So
No, absolutely.
yeah, but I think the confidence I guess I began to have as a leader to step up to the next ranks to kind of enter the fatherhood circle was important for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, it helps to resonate better with other dads and like
For sure.
talk on the same level. Although
Yeah.
I think you're doing a pretty, or have done a pretty well job anyway
Thanks.
beforehand, right?
Yeah.
um, do you involve her in sport? Where do you want to go with her? Do you want to get her involved in fitness and sports?
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure. My first thing is actually developing her love for nature.
mm,
And I think that kids, especially in today's day and age, that develop an early love for nature, getting outside, taking walks, learning how to run barefoot and breathe through their nose and appreciate what natural foods are and where they come from, are going to have a deeper connection that's going to help hedge them against the negative influences of a modern lifestyle.
mm,
Technology has lots of benefits, as we stated in the beginning of this call, but there's also quite a few drawbacks. And I think the people that are very sick in today's day and age are typically not sleeping well, to using too much technology, disconnected from natural cycles and rhythms. So getting her outside and connected with nature is the current prime number one. And then two, the kind of foods that we have in the household, it's not like things are like strictly off limits, but she's just used to eating
no.
like a lot of very healthy, high quality, mostly non-processed food. And I think
Mm.
that's the basis. And then just leaning into all of her interests. I have a secret intuition that she's going to get into gymnastics and that I will have to learn how to do backflips and back handsprings with her. And I'm looking forward to that deeply. And then, she's in the gym all the time, seeing me or friends or other people
Do you have a
exercise.
home
So
gym or?
yeah, we
Okay.
have a home gym. Yeah. So she's around that all the time and playing with things. She likes to walk on the treadmill for fun. And just it's a comfortable place where she's used to seeing a lot of fun happen. So I know she's kind of getting into the gym culture very
Mm.
early. So
Do
that's the plan.
do you also have this huge sense of pride when you see your daughter doing something that you maybe for me it was like I did some handstands and then she was
Yeah.
like I don't know 1.5 years and she tried to do the handstand or the plank. She was 6 months old and she did the plank with me.
Really?
And it was yeah so much joy for me. I
Yeah,
don't
it's so beautiful. I
know.
mean, I can't, I wish I could say my daughter's tried to do a handstand, although she's getting pretty good at going upstairs. And it's funny just to see her natural aptitudes. Like she's right leg dominant, likes to take the stairs on that leg. But, I was doing some backwards walking the other day and now she's trying to walk backwards. So it's like very fun, to see those kinds of things.
Yeah, I want to send her to gymnastics as well. Actually, she's already going right now where we're at. There is no gymnastics gym, unfortunately.
Mm,
So, like you, just take her to the gym and try to be a good role model. Try to show her like the importance of movement, nature. Very important. I agree there as well because like most teenager, no matter in Switzerland or here in Thailand, I don't see them outside. And here, so beautiful. You go
for
out and
sure.
you have like all kind of wild animals, but I don't
Yes.
see kids playing. It's weird, super
You're
weird.
totally right. And I'll say this too. I mean, this is now like the level of understanding of health that I'm at now is like when I was in my bodybuilding days, I would, if you asked me what was the most important things, I'd say having a very well structured and thought out training plan and making sure that you know how to like meet your nutrient targets and macronutrients and hydration. And now I'd say it's probably like it's those things are key pillars, but they're equally as important to circadian rhythm and biology, the influence of certain kinds of lights and how light influences the eyes and the neurochemistry that happens because of morning sunshine, evening sunshine, melatonin, all of this stuff for longevity. So if people don't get reconnected to nature, there's going to be a whole host of mental, emotional problems
Mm,
that are
mm,
due to us being disconnected fundamentally from the sun's light cycles. And
mm.
this chronobiology field is going to become mainstream in the next 10 years.
I think
You're going to
so.
hear people talking about
Absolutely.
it. It's not just like wear blue blockers at night. It's actually like get UV light in your eyes
Mm,
intermittently throughout the day,
mm,
get infrared light from the sun in the morning sunshine and the
mm.
sunset. Like all these things are going to become much better known, and the science will help to support it a lot more.
I agree. I agree. How does a typical day look like for you right now?
So wake up, depending on, I think it's funny because like as a seasonal shift, sometimes I am a little bit of a later shift or a morning shift, and it's gotten a little darker earlier now. So I'm staying up, I feel like a little bit later. So let's say I'm going to bed anywhere from like 10 to 11 o'clock. Before I go to bed, I do meditate. It's an important part of my routine. Just because I believe that health is so fundamentally tied to, your nervous system and your ability to cultivate peace and that kind of
Is
aspect. And
that guided
meditations,
meditation, or what kind
I
of meditation do you
I
do?
basically I have a meditation chair that I sit in, and I don't use guidance at this point, but I used a lot of guidance starting off. And I've been doing a morning and evening meditation practice for several years now, so I just kind of have my own
Okay.
flow. But it's straight spine, becoming aware of the breath, and like and learning how to just sink into a very present state of being. And some meditations are deeper than others, but every night it kind of starts off with that. I'm very much protecting the blue light. When the sun is going down, I'm putting screen filters on my laptop or
Mm.
my phone, or blue blocking glasses. Like that's all essential. And I've started eating dinner a little bit earlier. Like I'm trying to eat a little bit earlier in the day, so I have a couple more hours fasted before I go to bed. And that's mainly because I find that if I eat too late, it affects my sleep
Mm.
and all of that. So I'm compressing my eating window on the tail end, just trying not to eat too late. I get up in the morning, I rehydrate, and then I do meditate in the morning. And it could be anywhere from 10 to 45 minutes, depends on what I have in the morning. If I have more time to just kind of sit and it's good, or if there's a schedule where you got to get going. I have a cold plunge out in my backyard. So I get into the cold plunge and get some sunshine on my body. And that's one thing I've legitimately found has done a big boost to my sense of well-being and even my physique, just
Oh,
because you get
really?
that cold thermogenesis and you do get some fat loss, and slightly anti-inflammatory, increases all these good feel-good neurotransmitters. So the cold plunge in the morning with some full body sunshine on my skin and my eyes. And then depending on the day, depending on how hungry I am from how much I've been training or what I have going on, maybe I have a morning breakfast meal, or maybe I fast for a little bit of time. But at this point, I'm probably having two main meals a day and maybe one snack in the afternoon if
Okay.
desired. But there's like a main meal and then a dinner meal. So like a AM meal and like a PM meal, and maybe there's a snack in between. I'm not exactly tracking my macros right now, but I'm pretty effortlessly kind of maintaining a level of fitness, body fat, and muscle that I'm happy with. And what I find right now, and I don't know if you can relate to this, is I'm either pushing really hard on work or really hard on fitness, and like they don't always go hard at the
No.
same
Yeah.
time. And right
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
it's more of a work push, and a
Mm.
fitness is a little more in a maintenance loop.
Mm.
And then there's be times when,
Yeah.
well, it's mostly
It
been
comes in
work
comes in
lately.
phases. I agree.
Yeah,
Like it's very, very normal. I had to learn this as well because like you, I want to push like everywhere, and then the family life and my business
yeah,
and fitness, but impossible to push
yeah.
like all like every aspect of your life.
hmm
So yeah.
And you could probably attest to one thing, is I don't want to cut you off, is like when you've built up a great base like you have, and like I have, you can train a couple times a week, and it's very easy to maintain. It can be
Absolutely.
a lot of work to build to a certain point, but if I do two dedicated strong strength training sessions per week, that is plenty of stimulus for me to,
To
to
maintain.
succeed. And I'm still
Yeah.
getting steps in, doing some fun cardio if I want to, just like running or biking or getting outside
Yeah.
and all that.
How much protein are you getting in? Because like two main meals, one snack.
Yeah, if I had to say, if I guess what my macros are, I would say I'm probably getting anywhere from 100 to 150 grams of protein. I'd say I'm getting around 150 grams of carbs, and probably around, believe it or not, maybe like 150 to 200 grams of fat.
Oh well. Okay.
Slightly higher in the fat right now. And it's
Yeah.
just because I think I'm eating, like, it's easier to eat less food and have a slightly higher calorie intake. And that fat is typically coming from olive oil, coconut, hemp seeds, chia seeds, macadamia nuts, walnuts, like, so nuts and seeds, eggs, fatty meats, salmon, maybe some grass-fed pasture-raised beef on occasion.
Mm. Mm.
But I'm trying to eat less food right now because it helps me stay a little more productive
Mm.
in terms of volume. That's just
Okay.
kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And what I found too, I don't know if I
Can I
can
say that?
tolerate carbs. Go ahead.
I find it super funny that you use it as an advantage that you have to eat less, but you
Yeah.
can still eat a lot of calories. Usually, when someone's saying, "Oh, is it all like is it, my portions are so little?" I try, okay, lower your fats, increase your protein and carb portion because you can eat more. Like the volume is
And that
bigger,
is
right?
absolutely true, right? For someone who wants to lose weight, I mean, you definitely want to have like higher bulk foods with lower, like,
Mm,
high nutrient, but like low calorie dense foods. Like a lot, you can eat more vegetables. You can have a shit ton of blueberries, it's
absolutely.
not that many calories,
Absolutely.
right? So all that's good, but I suppose everyone's got to kind of find their nutrition plan that works well for
Yep.
them. And when I
Absolutely.
train harder, I'll eat more carbohydrates, and oftentimes that just generally makes me hungrier. So
Okay.
I
Got it.
and I yeah.
Got it. Cool. Let's talk about Project Fit Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Fit Father Project. Sorry.
Yep.
So, what is the mission there? Why did you decide to work with fathers?
Yeah.
Because
I
when you
mean,
started, you weren't a father.
for sure. But, seeing my dad, like his challenges were largely because he didn't have good guidance on how to like maintain his health and his fitness routines amidst running a busy family, amidst having an older body, and then all the other variables that lead to cancer that we might not even be able to say. But I just saw like the pressures of middle-aged parents, a time
Mm,
when the body is the most susceptible as possible for it to be going downhill. People are becoming more inactive, losing muscle mass, hormonal changes, high stress and pressure. And in a sense, like healthy parents are like the foundation and the fabric of our civilization. Like a
mm,
lot of young people want to get fit because you look good, you attract the opposite sex, you feel confident, like all those good reasons. But when you become a parent, like the stakes are so much higher. And we have unhealthy parents that trickles down to unhealthy kids. So it's like this huge cultural component that I wanted to shift. And quite frankly, just from a straight, also from like a business standpoint, like the people who are most motivated to change, are typically people who are in pain, and people over
mm,
40 who are unhealthy. Like
mm.
they realize it's time to make some changes. So there's a real market need. And it's funny because in some sense it seems like niche. Oh, you just work with dads over 40. And I'm like, yeah, I work with like half of the adult population, and I
Right.
can I connect them with their core
Uh,
values, which is
uh,
largely for people being a father. So
mm,
the mission is to expand it far and wide and to build a very sustainable business that is a force for good. And I just know when we get people healthy and they can use our programs in our community and the support to develop their healthy through line, it's almost like we just lit a little torch in a community somewhere, and they're having a positive influence around all those people, their local family and friends. They are now a beacon of hope. And also when they become more healthy and vital, they can just go do more good things. And I think I'm a big believer in like generative math, like things that make more goodness. So you get more healthy people, it can make more healthy people.
yeah.
And that's how we can shift it in a grassroots level. So I'm here to just stand and attract all the people over 40 who have struggled and failed, haven't found something sustainable. Like we have a really sustainable approach to this stuff. And I just
Mm.
want to have millions of more people go through the programs over the next decade.
Now, feel free to brag. How many fathers have you helped so far?
Well, it's, inside our program, and fathers and mothers combined is around 100,000 program members. But if you look on like across like YouTube and all that, I mean, like hundreds of millions of people have
Yeah,
probably been
yeah,
impacted by
yeah,
like the stuff that we've done,
yeah.
which is really amazing. But yeah, I'd say that probably the number was between the fathers and mothers around 100,000 people in almost every country in the world. We've had, well, I don't know, we've had there's some small islands and other stuff where people haven't bought our fitness program. We get that, but like it's been really cool to see people around the world kind of like take this up.
What is the reason you went into or working with mothers as well?
Well, it was, interesting. Obviously, with my dad's story, Fit Father Project, me being a man myself, like there was a lot of natural connection. And, after about 3 or 4 years of doing Fit Father, like we had so many guys that was like, hey, my spouse, my sister, my coworker, like, what do you have for them? And so we built a women's program inside Fit Father Project. And as they started to gain traction, we had it out into its own company and community. And what we found is like, you know, listen, in today's day and age, men can do all these things, women can do all these things. You're a dad to a girl, I'm a dad to a girl, I am all girl power, guy power. But there is something special about having unique communities that's centered around just men and just women. There's
Mm,
a certain kind of magic that I see happen every day
mm,
inside these gender specific communities that's really cool to witness. It feels like a safe space. It feels like their shared experiences there. So that's why we want Fit Mother to be its own thing.
mm. Okay, got it. If you work with if with all the fathers and all the mothers out there, what exactly do you offer them? I mean, I have to guess it's probably a mix of like videos and maybe calls
Mhm.
and an app. I
Yeah.
assume. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So we basically developed like a curriculum like a way of helping someone go from I'm just starting, I sign up for this thing. I don't have established nutrition. I need to learn how to exercise. I have all these questions about all these things, and take that person and help them strategically build habits. So we start off with honestly some mindset and mission statement work. We have
Yeah.
people write a mission statement when they join so they can really help connect their health to their core values,
Yeah.
and write a goal
Yeah.
driven statement, because
Same.
it's massive, right? Right. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not,
Exactly the
people
same.
don't fail because they don't know, what a healthy food is or what not healthy food, or how to exercise. It's a motivational, emotional component. So we
Mm,
connect with
mm,
that. We have a really sustainable approach to nutrition inside our Fit Father and Fit Mother meal
yeah.
plan. So we get that on next, and we help explain to people, like, you get the mindset right, you start walking, you increase your water intake, and you eat healthy foods. Like, you will, just with that alone, you can see a massive improvement. And then we sprinkle in this proper age appropriate high intensity
Mm,
exercise, and we
mm,
deliver that via videos and PDFs and
got it.
instructionals.
Yeah.
And then we have a team of coaches that kind of supports and facilitates all of that with weekly calls, chat forums, all of this stuff. And we're in the stage now of kind of upgrading. All the stuff's been kind of on a web app, and now we're moving to a mobile app just to make it almost so much easier. We've been relying on things like Facebook groups and some other things, but now it's all going inside
Mm,
one Fit
mm,
Father and Fit Mother app,
mm,
which is really cool.
mm, mm. I found this very interesting, and I think many coaches miss that part. Even when someone works with me, I don't give them an exercise or a diet plan before they do some
Yeah.
mindset work. It's
Yeah,
essential. It's like, yeah, very much
for
needed,
sure.
and most people don't do that, or the people don't do that and will not succeed. This is my opinion. But
Mine
anyway,
too.
what is the most common excuse for a father for not being in good shape? I want to see
I'm
whether it
too,
matches with what I hear.
yeah, I mean, I'd say there's probably like three of them. The first one is I'm just too busy. I
Yeah.
have so many things going on. And I think that the logical fallacy that happens there is a lot of people, before they get into a proper fitness program, have uh the mental framework that they think that their fitness is over here and the rest of their life is over
Yep.
here, when it's truly just
Yep.
one thing. This is your body vehicle. This is your whole operational system. So we help people collapse that distinction. I think there's also like the people are just literally unmotivated. They feel like they're over the hill, too far gone. So there's some amount of depression that happens, particularly as you get older and you're kind of stuck in the rut for a long amount of time. And then there's all excuses that people may have about this kind of injury, this kind of
Yeah.
limitation on all that. Like, and yeah, like for sure, why it's more challenging as we get older. We do accumulate injuries. We do have legitimate limitations. The good news is there are workaround for absolutely every aspect that you could
Mm,
possibly think
mm,
of. And there's
mm.
something that you can do that can make you feel dramatically better. And many of these things actually end up going away or improving significantly through the process of just getting on a better health routine.
Yeah. Agreed.
What is there anything that you see other
Pretty
than
much
those
that.
those
Pretty much
couple?
that.
Yeah.
I like what he said as the first thing that most people see here fitness and here is life. And then they say, okay, I have so much going on and so busy now. I'm putting fitness on hold. And it's like, okay, if you have so much going on, would you say your wife, I'm putting our relationship on hold because I
Yeah,
have so many things going on? Or do you tell your boss, okay, I'm putting work on hold? It's
for sure.
nonsense, right? Absolute nonsense. But yeah, it's oftentimes just something they tell themselves. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, really just finding an excuse, right? It's just the
For sure.
reality. Um, I want to touch on the business side of things, if
Mm-hmm.
you don't mind me
Yeah,
asking.
for sure.
Um, you said you have a team of coaches. How many
Mm-hmm.
employees work for FitFather project?
Around between Fit Father and Fit Mother, it's probably like around 25 people. And they
Wow.
work in all various things like coaches, customer service, web tech people,
No.
fulfillment and shipping and supplements, like some leadership. Yeah, and I want to just get more people, more coaches. And the fun thing is most of the coaches that we do end up hiring, like or accountability people, they come from our community. Like most of them have been very successful and they
Yeah,
understand
that makes
what this
sense.
is like, and so they want to come and
How
help more
life changing
people.
it is, and they understand the
Yeah,
program. Yeah, makes sense.
yeah,
You said earlier that you helped already 100,000 people in total, or even more.
yeah.
And the goal is to get millions, right?
Hmm.
May I ask how much revenue you make per year?
Yeah, we're in the 7 to 8 figure range in terms of revenues. Yeah, so
Okay.
several millions of dollars,
Mm,
you could say, but that's in revenues. Like you know, it's easy to spend these things.
Yeah. I know. People always confuse that.
Facebook and Google will take as much money as you can give them if you want to serve ads and stuff like that. And so that's a whole other side of life, right? I mean, what I found is like growing this business, there's like the actual coaching, teaching, training side, and then there's like me just learning how to be a better CEO and business owner and build a better business. And like, I, that's not without challenge, but it's also a challenge that I deeply embrace. And it's now a deep part of my life purpose is to build a great company.
The biggest revenue stream is, I assume, the coaching. What about YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube actually is like, I mean, it's good, but it's not even comparable to the amount of revenue from the programs. I'd say our revenues are probably like 60% from programs, 30% from supplements, and then the extra 10 is like miscellaneous YouTube sponsored stuff, other kind of things like that. Retreats.
Got it.
Much smaller. It's mostly online programs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of those. How often do you do retreats?
A couple times a year. We actually just got back. I got back from one 2 days ago. We had 2 back-to-back retreats in Fit Fathers and Fit Mothers. We took them to a beautiful location here in the United States, and we have like a long weekend of like amazing food prepared by chefs, exercise, breath work, hiking, connection. So very fun. We just got through that. And I think next year part of my vision is to get more in-person gatherings because like this is a community as much as it is a program. So doing more regional events, maybe even international events, and just gathering people in shared space. We're starting to do some service trips next year. We're going to go around different places, build some houses, do some more teaching events. So we're now bringing like this online business and allowing people to connect offline. And when I'm looking ahead into the future of what you and I as fitness small business owners are facing, it's like we continue to like build up our methodology, produce great results for people at a really great value point that makes sense for everyone. And like AI and all this stuff is like right around the corner. Like there's going to be all sorts of apps with some kind of chat GPT style thing that's going to be able to answer every fitness question you could possibly imagine. But I don't think that's going to produce results for people in the same way that communities will. So I'm really leaning into communities and getting people like connected and in person when possible.
Speaking of AI, do you use artificial intelligence in your daily life right now?
Man, I mean, only a couple times a week. Like I used it like a week and a half ago to come up with some interview questions for an expert on a very particular topic. And I was like, ChatGPT. I know that some of our softwares are optimized in some way, shape, or form through AI, but I have not been using too much. And like, you know what I think is like the AIs right now in terms of like content producing, like if you were to put a query in to like write a blog post and this stuff, it's scraping like really good content from the internet, but it's like pre-existing stuff.
Yep.
And what I think when you become more of an expert in a field, you're able to not just have like the information, but like the art and the perspective that weaves it all in that maybe an AI is going to be able to do. But at this point, like I think I can do far more authentically than any AI. And quite frankly, I've practiced so much shooting videos that I can speak very like fluently and share a message without needing a ton of effort. So that's but I mean, we'll see.
I even gave you a compliment. Do you remember that? I even asked him, man, do you read your script? How do you do that? So good. So Thanks, good. Man. Okay. How did scaling look like for a company? I assume it started more like a one-on-one coaching business, or was it from day one intended? Yeah.
It was intended for scale from day one. Okay. And, you know, funny enough, like the first thing that's now like the core meal plan that's a part of a larger program I was selling is like a $10 ebook on a sales page that I wrote that took me many iterations to get my first person to buy an ebook. And it's fascinating starting a fitness business because like you have to start off without having a lot of transformations and try to sell people about transformations. So it's like a bit of like chicken before the egg scenario. So it takes a while sometimes to like get your good base of like amazing clients and transformations that you can go out to the world and say, look, I know what I'm doing. And these people say I know what I'm doing. Like, come listen. This actually is the real deal. So it was probably it's been about a 10-year journey building the businesses. I think the LLC, the company structure here in the United States has been around for 11 years in different iterations and stages. And it was always intended to be not just one-on-one coaching. I actually did very, very few of that at all throughout the whole process. It was always, digital, getting more people to buy and sign up for things, building the websites, getting the kind of membership site stuff up there, and just kind of growing. I think it was about 3 years of just digital, and honestly, we're finding the program, like the iterations of the program to make it so good, just running enough people through there and just making it better. So it's like a really good standalone thing that doesn't require a lot of hand holding for someone to be massively successful. Like at this point, the program is so good, paired with just the fact that we have a community that someone can buy the program. We could never actually talk to them outside of them just doing the videos, and they could lose 100 pounds. So it's like, it's quite scalable now. But then hiring coaches to help like really facilitate that for people probably happened like 3 years later in that phase, coaching and building out our team and personnel to interface more. And then we introduced some supplements, and that's been an interesting journey in its own right. And I think when scaling, it's like, there is periods of time, and I'll reflect in like almost like in these 3-year chunks where we have a lot of scale and growth, and then we hit a plateau, and then we have a lot of scale and growth, we hit a plateau. And just transparently, we've been like at a plateau, and we're about to go, thankfully, into the next like upscale. But we've been kind of at a very similar pace for the last like 2 years, like slight growth, absolutely making improvements, but it hasn't been like just a hockey stick exponential growth. But there were years that were like that.
Yeah. Launching your own supplement line, would you say was worth it? Would you do it again? Because I did just like a supplement that helps with sleep, optimize sleep. And this is one supplement, right? And now it's so painful. It's so painful from manufacturing to shipping. And then with all the rules, every country is different. And then even when I ordered sample, they were like here in Thailand, didn't go through the customs. It was terrible. It was terrible. So
I agree.
what's your experience?
Well, we're grateful. I think I said it's like roughly supplements are probably a third of our revenues. So it's substantial, like the number of supplements we sell for a small business, but it's been a lot of headache. You tie up a lot of money in inventory. Lead times are crazy, let alone through COVID when people didn't have bottles for anything and all the crazy stuff. And it just makes if someone has an online fitness business and they want to get into supplements, my high recommendation would be for them to find a wonderful private label manufacturer, someone that's making supplements that you already believe in, that have awesome formulas that you can buy at smaller quantities and put your label on, is going to be a lot more manageable than meeting minimums of a manufacturer to get like 500 to several thousand of a supplement. And then you're sitting on stock, your cash is tied up, and it's like, it can kind of get messy unless you have a big audience and a lot of demand for it. So we ended up having
you cannot stand out then. If you have an existing supplement and you just basically put your own brand on it,
maybe. I mean, like I hear you, but I think like it depends. There's a couple thought processes on that. Like, have you really developed a sleep supplement that is absolutely has things that aren't in other sleep supplements? Some magnesium, some melatonin, some theanine, maybe some sleepy herbs. Like, they're out there. And so I think people want to buy supplements from people that they trust and at a good value and as a part of like an experience. So I think when it becomes, if you're offering super high quality products and there is your label on it, and you're able to get this supplement from a manufacturer that they couldn't buy anyways, like you can only get it through like at cost. And I'm not talking about crappy private labels, but some people, I'd say if you look online, it's probably 75% of the supplements are probably private label. I mean, 25% might be, custom straight up formulas. And our most successful supplement is a custom straight up formula. Like we make our own protein powder. It's our super fuel protein. So it's a well-sourced protein with a low dose multivitamin. We have plant-based as well as whey. I use the plant-based personally, but we have a whey plant-based, tastes great, has probiotics, enzymes, some organic superfoods, super greens, and like a low dose multi. So it's a great. We use it. We have people who do shakes and smoothies and stuff like that use it as a base. Like that's custom. In fact, our 3 supplements that are bestsellers are customs.
Okay.
Right. So I'll say that. But I also do see the value in not going through that whole route because it's complicated and it can be expensive.
No, you're seeing also some influencers doing that. They're having their own supplements, but now there are just drop shippers that have like everyone has the same supplements basically with their own etiquette on it, and so you have like 5 influencers, and they all sell the same. It's just like a different label, and then it doesn't make sense for me anymore, in my opinion. But unless, as you say, when you already have a product that you're a fan of, that that is good, high quality, and then when you work with them, then that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
What's next for you and Fit Father project?
Well, we're like I said, in terms of like how we've been on a little bit of a plateau and we're kind of going into our next scaling phase, we're making some pretty tremendous changes to like for the better to our business model and launching that app. So right now we've had people able to buy programs like one off. You can buy a program itself for like $150 or on sale like $70 or something like this. And I'm speaking in US dollars. But now we're going to go to only subscriptions. So monthly and yearly
Okay.
subscriptions and all flat like that, and it's beneficial for everyone involved, but particularly for the business as well. There's I put a much greater premium on stability of revenue in today's day and age than I do about doing some big launch and all this work, and then you make all this money and then you don't have as much steady customer acquisition. What we're finding, and I'm speaking now as like a business person, is ads are getting more competitive and harder to
Yep.
make work if you're using that. Like, and it's more challenging to acquire customers, at least for us. And so having lower priced entry ways where people can come in and try the programs is a big part of our strategy. And that's easy to do with recurring, with
Mm.
trials and different kinds of things like this. And getting it all to be very, very mobile first for us, like going into the mobile app and pushing all that stuff out. We're expanding our supplement line, doing more in-person events. We just hired another key trainer on our team who used to run another dad company. So, like, we're doing pretty good.
That sounds good to me. Congrats,
Mm-hmm.
man. That sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Uh, What comes to mind automatically? Why? Why do you want to grow even further? You're having so much success, and all the things that you mentioned here. I mean, you made it, right? Like from my point of
Yeah.
view, pretty solid what you built there. So
I mean,
why growing? What motivates you?
well, I think it's the vision, really. Like, I definitely, if I asked my 20-year-old self, like, who was really trying hard in business, like, that I'd be here, then yeah, I absolutely made it. But it's amazing because, like, as you push and you get further out towards the horizon, your vision gets
Mm,
bigger. And now it's not just about crossing off any like goals and desires for me personally as like a bucket list of things to do in business. It's now like I really want to build like a really more mature company. Like I think we're a successful small business with a great product that has a good foothold in a market, but we're not a super established, incredibly well run. There's other things to do. Like I want to write a book for the business so I can go out on tour and meet people. Like I want
mm,
to like just there's many more things to end up doing, and I just like I'm so service oriented now that there's so many more people like to reach, and people aren't getting healthier. It's not like the obesity and the
mm,
over 40 health
mm,
crisis has gotten any better. Like in fact, I'd say like people like you and me are like more needed than ever. Like it's
mm,
just like more necessary to stay in the pocket. And I get to do ultimately what I admired about Tony Robbins. I get to wake up every day and create things that help people on a fundamental level. And if I wasn't doing this, I'm not sure what else I'd be doing. And it's
mm,
also so congruent with my values.
mm.
And I also now I get as much pleasure in helping our customers as I do building our team and our people.
No.
So like
Mm,
having them be successful, having them start to grow and create things, and seeing like I want Fit Father not just to be discreet. Like we're kind of in our own ecosystem right now, but Fit Father and Fit Mother to start to like branch out and connect with all these different organizations and like collaborate so much more and extend as a network. And there's so many things we can do on the back end when people are successful program members, personal development,
mm,
adventure trips,
mm.
partnering with other companies. It's like it's kind of like a playground of what we could
Mm,
create. And I have a
mm.
lot of more ideas and also bring more people on board who want to bring it to life. So
Amazing. That sounds amazing. And I can
yeah,
hear like your passion and you're thriving. You want to do that. It's not only for, the money, not only the dollar sign. It's like much more. That's what I really love
for
about you.
sure.
Pretty cool.
Thanks.
Maybe for you personally, do you have any goals in your personal life?
Yeah. I'd say, with my body is continuing to heal my body. Like my right knee still has some pretty substantial damage from the surgeries. And so restoring my knee to great functioning by the time my daughter wants me to start doing backflips with her. So I have some time and I'm working on that regularly. Um,
Will come soon,
becoming,
believe me, soon.
becoming a great dad. And I think that's like a learn on the job, but also gathering wisdom from other great dads. So that's essential for me. And then I guess staying, bringing the joy, the peace and the goodness that I feel is like some of like the highest truth, the stuff that I meditate and experience and the stuff that I want everyone to experience, taking the quality of my work and whatever I'm doing and having more of that in there. I think I had many years where I was working from a place of wanting to arrive. There was background stress, wanting to create, and it was like I didn't have the joy as the feeling of it. And I think many of us can relate. Like you want to get stuff done, there's pressure and stuff like this. So like the meta goal is perhaps just to meet this work and this mission from a place of like wholesome peace, joy, and goodness. It's like that's the feeling through which I'm working. And then, that's super important to me.
Cool. Awesome. Anthony, it's been a pleasure. It was really cool talking to you, really, and really gave me this boost of inspiration once again. So thank you very much for doing this with me.
Thank you, brother.
Where can people find you?
So the brands that we talked about here is Fit Father Project and Fit Mother Project. Those can be found at fitfatherproject.com or fitmotherproject.com, or you can search Fit Father or Fit Mother anywhere on whatever search engine you use and we'll come up. We have an awesome blog. We have some good free meal plans and workouts. And of course, our full programs and supplements are all in there. Then the other place to check us out is YouTube. Like if you like YouTube videos, long form content, go to our channels, open up Fit Father or Fit Mother. I mean, between the two channels, I think we have over 1 million subscribers, which is cool now, and over 600 videos. So lots of good stuff to dive into. And I have a lot of good, like long form content. If you have a topic you're interested in, type it in the search bar and there'll probably be something that comes up.
I will put the link in the show notes as well. So if people want to look it up, they find it there. Anthony, once again, all the best for you, your family,
Thanks, bro.
and your business, of course.
Likewise.
Thanks. Have a great day and hopefully talk to you soon.
You too, bro. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.